The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is so close to release. It is almost unbelievable that it is almost here. I remember watching the live direct back in 2019 when it was first revealed. I also remember the exact feeling and reaction I had when they revealed the sequel to Breath of the Wild. The feeling was indifference. When you ask somebody how they felt about Breath of the Wild, a high percentage of those people usually fall into two categories. Category 1. They thought it was the best game they ever played, or at least it was one of the best. They loved everything about it and thought it was near perfect. And Category 2. They liked the game, or could at least see why it was so good, but it didn't feel like Zelda, and because of that reason it felt like it tainted the game. They were just hoping for more of a traditional Zelda experience. Unfortunately, I fall into that second category. Now, just to clarify, I think Breath of the Wild was a fantastic game. It was simply incredible. They really did redefine what an open world game can be. I put about 200 hours into it, but I cannot help but just feel disappointed when I play the game. I thought about it for so long. Why didn't I like it that much? Everyone else was saying that this game was literally the best game ever created. I thought there was something wrong with me. And then I started watching some videos on YouTube. Apparently I wasn't the only one. I was part of a very small minority that didn't like it that much. But nevertheless, I found out why I didn't like it. It wasn't a traditional Zelda game. I went into Breath of the Wild expecting it to be like Twilight Princess, Wind Waker, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask. The extremely linear style type of game. I didn't watch any previews for the game. I watched the first trailer that was released and that was basically it. I just had my daughter months before the game came out, so I was pretty busy and out of the loop regarding gaming news and footage. It wasn't until the summer of 2017 when I bought my Switch. I naturally bought Breath of the Wild with it since I thought I was a huge Zelda fan, and it was nothing like I'd hoped it would be for the reasons I stated previously. However, I did replay it last year and my experience with it was a lot different. I did like it a lot more, but I was still disappointed that we didn't get what I was hoping for in the game originally. And that is what this video is about. My final hopes and dreams for Tears of the Kingdom. What I would want in the game for it to be perfect to me. I guess what I originally wanted in Breath of the Wild. So number 1 is not going to be original or a huge surprise to anybody. Dungeons. Honestly, if they just brought back dungeons in Tears of the Kingdom, I would be so satisfied. Forget the shrines and the divine beasts. Combine those two things into like 6 to 8 dungeons in the game, maybe more without the quality suffering. Dungeons is what makes Zelda have that certain atmosphere. The excitement of finding a new dungeon you haven't been to before, and then the main theme for that dungeon starts playing. Oh man, I bet everyone who's played Zelda remembers the first time they heard a specific song when entering their favorite dungeon. The exploration of the dungeon was something special in itself. When you find that special weapon or item that helps you progress through the game, it's a different type of excitement. The mini bosses and main bosses of the dungeon were all so much fun to fight. Now, of course, most of this stuff would have to be adjusted to fit the new Zelda formula. Unfortunately, I don't think they will bring back special items that you have to obtain to progress through the game. Even though I loved that, it is long gone. However, they could include special items that help you traverse in the game. Like, I don't know. That's right, the hookshot gets its own section. Why? Because I love it that much, that's why. It has been a staple of the Zelda games. Now you may be asking, why in the world will we need a hookshot when we could literally make a flying plane, a driving car, and go through the ceiling? I think we are still going to be doing a lot of climbing in this game. Instead of the hookshot only being able to hook onto specific sections, it could grab anything. If you're climbing up and you could see another part of the mountain or structure you're climbing above you, across from you, or just within reach, you could use the hookshot to grab onto whatever you can see. And maybe as you progress through the game, you'll encounter another dungeon that has the ultra hookshot. Maybe that would allow you to use it hundreds of feet away. You could also use it to grab an enemy or an item that's far away. I know it may be useless in this game, but I think it would make traversing and combat just a little more interesting. Plus, it would be a nice callback. The combat for Breath of the Wild, in my opinion, felt a little repetitive. Maybe I just wasn't being creative enough. But you know what would make it a little bit more interesting in general? Transformations. I am a Majora's Mask stan through and through, and I know it. But come on, you cannot tell me you didn't think it was a little cool to become the different races from Zelda. You could roll as a Goron, swim as a Zora, fly as a Deku Scrub, not to mention they all had their own type of fighting styles. If they can somehow implement that into Tears of the Kingdom, I would shit a brick. Not just become a different race, but you could just become a different creature altogether. In Twilight Princess, you could transform into Wolfling, and I thought that was just as awesome. I am always down to play multiple characters in a video game, or multiple versions of the same character. It makes it more interesting to me for some reason. Maybe it's because of my Goopy Goblin gamer brain.
Goopy Goblin gamer brain.
I can just imagine going throughout that huge world in Hyrule, rolling as a Goron, swimming in the gigantic lakes and oceans of the water as a Zora, flying atop the Sky Islands as a Deku Scrub. This one is definitely the most far-fetched idea I have, but it is a dream of mine. But you know what else is far-fetched for me to want in this game? A full soundtrack. Now it just makes sense to me why they did a very simplistic soundtrack for Breath of the Wild, especially in certain parts of the world. That subtle music starts playing and it just feels so peaceful and beautiful. It was probably the first and only time I just let my character stare at the sky and listen to the environment in subtle notes. However, I have had my fill of that. I want Tears of the Kingdom to have a full soundtrack that plays when you're skydiving, riding a horse across the land, in dungeons, hopefully. The Breath of the Wild soundtrack was good, but it could be better. I also did notice a lot of people say one more thing could be better from Breath of the Wild, and that was...
Wake up, Link.
The story in Breath of the Wild felt lacking to me, so much so that I thought it was the main reason I didn't like the game. It wasn't the main reason, but it was a big part of it. The story in Ocarina, Twilight Princess, and even Skyward Sword felt so detailed. Again, maybe it's just me, but Breath of the Wild felt so empty in that sense. I guess I was just expecting more. Even the ending boss fight was so easy and unrewarding. It didn't really feel like I earned the ending. Just a more flushed out story with a little more detail and development would make it more appealing to me for Tears of the Kingdom. But I'm not a writer, so I have no idea what it would exactly need. But I do have a Goopy Goblin gamer brain, so maybe I wouldn't even notice if it was better. But one thing that would be impossible to overlook, if it was improved, is... the side missions. I hate to bring up Majora's Mask again, but that game arguably had the best side missions of any Zelda game, or game in general. Even now, when I play Majora's Mask as an adult, the side missions feel like it's just part of the main game. They don't feel like chores to me, like most side missions do. The rewards for most side missions usually end in extra money, a slightly upgraded weapon that you may already have, or in Breath of the Wild's case, shrines. In Tears of the Kingdom, I sincerely hope that side missions have a huge impact on the game's story as a whole. Maybe completing side missions repair the kingdom or reward you with specific items that you can only get by completing that specific side mission. If this was the case, the amount of side missions would have to decrease significantly, but I personally would be perfectly okay with that. I barely did any side missions in Breath of the Wild. They felt boring to me. They felt like a chore. Spicing up those side missions in Tears of the Kingdom with amazing rewards or fixing characters' relationships that you've become attached to would be chef's kiss for me. I'll be honest, my hype for this game was so damn low for so many years. Honestly, from the time they announced the sequel to Breath of the Wild up until the Direct of February this year, I was not excited at all. I was scared that they were just going to add the Sky Islands, and then that was it. Deep down, I knew they couldn't just only add that one thing, and then I watched the latest gameplay demo showing the Ultra Hand and Fusion mechanic. That part alone is so very interesting to me, seeing what I and what everyone else can create in the game, but it also got me thinking, if they showed us this, what are they not showing us? Maybe I'm just too hopeful and getting lost in thought of what I personally want in this game. If it is one thing I think they would add from what I said, it would be dungeons. And that's all it would take for me to be happy. And let's be real, I'm gonna buy this game whether they add everything I want or nothing at all. This is a huge game. One of the biggest games of all time. One of the most hyped games of all time. I mean, it has so much to live up to. I hate to say it, but the old way of the Zelda formula could be dead forever. Breath of the Wild was so very successful for Nintendo and Zelda as a brand. How can you go back to the old way when the new way has made so much money and is universally loved. You can't. It just doesn't make any sense. But part of me is realizing that it's not completely universally loved. Again, part of a very small minority, but there are some people, some of the older Zelda fans, want that little bit of the nostalgic formula in this game. Eiji Aonuma has been working on the Zelda franchise for almost 27 years. Maybe he wants to add a little bit of that classic Zelda back as well. But I'll love to play the game. Either way, it's a new Zelda, and Zelda is a part of me and my childhood. I'll just have to be a little bit more open-minded and just try to have as much fun as I can, like when I used to play Zelda. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys. I've been very excited to play Tears of the Kingdom, and I just wanted to make a video explaining what I want to see in the game. I know it's very, very late. It's like a month till the game comes out at the time of recording, but I appreciate you watching. Hopefully you're as hyped up as I am. I did mean that I will buy the game regardless, and I will play it no matter what. This is just something fun that I would like to see in the game, whether they add it or not. Let me know what you would like to see. I know it's last minute, but just let me know anything. Let me know what your last hopes would be. Your last hopes and dreams. I would love to hear them in the comments below. I love seeing comments, and I love seeing the engagement and just what other people's minds can think of. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys, and I hope everybody has a great day. Thank you.